Welcome to another episode of the Biohub and Receptos podcast. Today, I'm joined by Jill Howe, Chief Financial Officer at Lineage Cell Therapeutics, a company developing groundbreaking allogeneic cell therapies for conditions like dry AMD, spinal cord injury, and hearing loss. Jill's career spans more than 20 years across some of biotech's most successful companies, helping take both Receptos and Gossamer Bio public before stepping into her current role. Today, we talk about what inspired her to join the company, how she helped shape and protect Lineage's culture, and what excites her most about their pipeline. So let's get into it. So how are you, first of all, Jill?
I'm wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for including me on your podcast today.
Yeah, it is a pleasure to have you on, honestly. I want to start with your story. Over 20 years in biotech, helping companies like Receptos and Gossamer Bio, now CFO at Lineage. First of all, what drew you into biotech, and then what made you make that next move to Lineage?
So the biotech industry is pretty inspiring. You know, it's really a culmination of people who get up every day and want to make the lives better for patients, and that's really inspiring to me. I would say that as I entered into the biotech space pretty early in my career, as I would say as a baby accountant, it was very obvious very early on that I was part of something bigger than myself. And I just really wanted to be able to do what I could do. I'm not a scientist. I'm not on the bench. I'm not creating amazing medicines, but in my role in operations and in financing and supporting financing companies, I can bring money into the company to give the funding to the scientists that can do what they can do best, which is create these groundbreaking applications for patients. So it's very inspiring, and that's continued to really be a cornerstone of what drives me in my career and really wanting to be part of this industry. And I've met some amazing people along the way. Been very inspired all across the industry. And it's just incredible that if somebody's sick, you give a call. If there's somebody that you know works on a specific modality, you can call, and everybody activates and calls people they know to get friends and family seen, and it's pretty inspirational.
What made you take that jump into Lineage? What inspired you to join?
So many reasons. I think my training and background up to that point had the opportunity to do a lot in public companies, so I understand the rigor. I understand the opportunity of being public, and I saw that as an opportunity to step into a company and join a fantastic team. So the company's got an interesting history. It's been around for several years, much longer than many of other biotechs that you see, and when Brian Coley joined the organization about 7 years ago, I would say he really transformed the organization into more of a startup type atmosphere. And that's something that I'm really drawn to. I like being able to wear multiple hats, really roll up the sleeves and be part of decision making and driving value and driving the organization into things that in ways that I think most people wouldn't normally do. It's sort of throwing out the playbook. The playbook's important, but you throw it out and you reinvent and rebuild the road as you go in front of you. And that was really inspiring to me, understanding that that's how the management team really like to work. Really drew me into it. Obviously, the science is pretty impressive. We do some pretty cool things. So science certainly needs to be there, but the management team needs to be there as well. As I think it's really important that we bring a lot of ourselves into our career and to our day-to-day lives, and surrounding yourselves with people that you really respect and really know that you can be in the trenches with and can solve problems. It's amazing what you can solve with the right people around the table together.
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit last time we spoke in terms of the unique culture piece at Lineage.
Mm-hmm.
What makes you stand out culture-wise, and how is it different to other organizations you've been a part of?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of clear communication, transparency for all the way around the organization. I think that's key. You hire smart people and they want to do smart things and they can see things, right? So we've all been in organizations where I think there's been a perspective to maybe not let everybody be aware of what's going on. But, again, you hire smart people, they see things and they can figure that out. And I think feeling like everybody's on the same page, trying to solve the same problem is really important. So I think the cultural part of that, the other thing, Lineage in particular, we really look to do is we're a small company. We need to compete with the other big companies out there. And one of the ways we can do that is culture and having a great place to come to work every day. So that's really important. We talk about that all the time. What are the type of people we're bringing in? We want problem solvers. We want smart people. We want folks that are really feeling as though they're engaged and part of the whole value creation that we're doing. It's very rewarding. And we all want to come to work together and we all really enjoy each other. And it's funny. Recently, Brian Coley and I were on a work trip, and of course, it's easy to talk about folks in the organization. We just sit there and looked at each other like everybody's amazing. Like we have an amazing team. Like it's so awesome. So that's inspiring too, to come in and have that opportunity to work with people that are excited about what we're moving forward and really feel like we're pioneering medicine that's impactful to the inpatient. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I love that you guys have got that. I mean, I always think there's an interesting part as well when new people are coming into the business. How are you? How do you approach the vetting of new people and preparing them to succeed in your culture?
Yeah, that's a great question. A lot of it is based off of feel, obviously. But I do think it's about setting the tone that there's a lot of opportunity in our organization, although we're small. So may not be a lot of title growth per se, but there's a lot of opportunity to learn a lot of different things and be a part of a lot of conversations and decision making and supportive decision making. But I would characterize this as a more entrepreneurial type culture. And that brings in a certain phenotype of individual, right? Folks that are really wanting to, not just come in, check the box and do their job and go home. They want to be part of the company, part of the family that we're building. And it's that those are things that I personally look for when I'm meeting with people. We work really hard. We spend a lot of time, thinking about what we're doing, working on what we're doing, being a lean team. But I think it's that engagement and just fully in on the company.
Yeah. When you said earlier about the title growth part, is that just because you guys aren't as title focused, or how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, I think yes. So although we have all the regular titles, et cetera, that you have, but oftentimes when you have a smaller company, you have somebody that comes in and wants to move through levels like you would typically see in a large pharma company where you're really groomed to certain levels. We don't always have those opportunities. So we look to make sure that we're level setting people correctly, that we're giving them the right opportunities and the right growth. But I think if an individual comes in and they say, hey, I'm looking to, be here for, 15, 20 years and every 2 years I want to have these growths, which is very, it's a very smart path. And I think a very smart thing for people to think about when they think about the career projections. That's not always the opportunity we can provide in a smaller company. And it's not just Lineage. It's many other companies of our size don't have a lot of that, explicit growth opportunities. But there's a lot to learn. There's a lot to be a part of. And I think that we do really think really hard and work really hard to make sure we have leveled people properly and that we're competitive and that we bring all of those opportunities to individuals in the organization.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you guys obviously offer smaller companies in general offer something a little bit different to the bigger guys. And I think to your benefit actually attracts a different kind of personality,
Right.
which seems to fit with what you guys are doing, which is awesome. But just generally for those who might not be familiar, can you just give us a quick overview of Lineage and what you're building and what makes your platform so unique?
Yeah, we do some really fun and cool stuff at Lineage. So we're cell therapy, as you mentioned before, allogeneic cell therapy. And what that means is we are developing more of a replacement part theories, but probably the best way I can describe it. So let me explain that a little bit more. So in our lead asset for dry AMD, which we partnered with Roche and Genentech back in 2021, for about 670 million. We received 50 million up front, so it was a fairly large cell therapy deal done at the time. And what we do is we actually manufacture fresh retina cells, and we actually put them into the back of the eye. So in the studies that we conducted as Lineage prior to the deal with Roche and Genentech, we figured out that when you put the cells directly over the area of wound or the atrophy where the patient is going blind, we've actually restored vision, which is pretty incredible because the human body doesn't regenerate tissue. So it's pretty phenomenal. That was what led to the deal with Roche and Genentech. And it's pretty exciting that in their hands, they're going to be able to take it all the way to commercialization. So we're working through that project with them. They, manage that asset. They pay for all of it, which is phenomenal. The other program we work on, which is spinal cord injury, and it's a similar idea where we put in replacement parts. So in patients that have had a break in their tissue bridge within the spinal cord, we put in fresh OPC1 or oligodendrocyte progenitor cells, which are a myelinating cell. They help rebuild that connective sheath over the electrical current that goes to the brain. And that is, a study that we've recently put back into the clinic. We adopted this, inherited this program, and we've had a lot that we've had to update and really get it ready to be back in the clinic. But with patients under this program, we've seen their ability to regain mobility in their upper extremities. And for independence perspective, that's just amazing. You can now use your phone, you can feed yourself, you can type. There's so many things you gain by regaining that mobility. It's pretty inspiring. The other program we're working on, as you mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, is auditory neurons. This is fairly new to our organization, but I do think is a great example of the power of our platform. So we sat around as a management team and decided what are other cell types we could manufacture. This was one that came about. And within less than 1 year and less than $1 million, we had this in animal model testing. So it's pretty remarkable. If you think about small molecule and the years and the millions of dollars it takes to get to the animal model testing, it's pretty remarkable. So we're very proud of the manufacturing that we can do. Well, we don't put stem cells in the human body. We take a pluripotent stem cell to create cells that are differentiated in the way of RPE cells for the retina, oligodendrocyte cells for the spine, and auditory neurons to help that signaling to the brain for hearing. We also just announced a type 1 diabetes program that we're launching into, and what we're hoping to do with this is solve the scale issue. So one of the challenges that we've identified in the marketplace is around type 1 diabetes. We understand that it can be cured. So Vertex has figured out that you can cure it. Sana has figured out that you can clone it, meaning that you can mask the cells within the human body so that it does not get attacked by your immune system. But the challenge that for the cell to be effective in the body, you need a lot of them. You need almost a billion cells per course. And that takes a lot. And so what we're looking to unlock, we might not be able to do it, but we're looking to see if we can unlock that scale with our manufacturing know-how that we've developed over the last 20 years of our history.
Wow, amazing. And then just in terms of milestones you've got coming up in pipeline, what have you got to look forward to over the next few years?
Well, again, continuing to work through our project with Roche and Genentech, we are still eligible for 620 million milestones and double-digit royalties as that program goes all the way through commercialization. And then we've recently signed a deal with Demant, which is one of the largest hearing aid companies in Europe, and they are actually funding the entire auditory neuron program that we have right now for preclinical to get that ready for clinical testing. So a lot of great milestones coming for the organization as we think about all of the things we've been doing in support of really unlocking the power of our platform and planting those seeds and really, getting folks excited about what we're working on the rest of the platform.
Yeah, it's awesome what you guys are doing. And it's funny when we first spoke and I said, look, what would you want to talk about in the podcast, Jill? I think the first thing you said was just being patient focused, being a core part of your leadership philosophy. Can you just talk us through, because you mentioned it a little bit in your previous answer, what that means to you and how does it shape the way you lead as a CFO as well?
Thank you for bringing that back around because it is very important and core to what I do and what motivates me and drives me. I'm a patient myself. So I think being part of what folks are getting up every day, the scientists all the way to the accountants and everybody in between that are getting up to go to work and solve these problems, it's pretty transformational. And so I bring that into my leadership because it's so easy to get up in the morning and go through your to-do list and gosh, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, and you get overwhelmed with life. But if there's moments you can take, it doesn't need to be daily, but occasionally, and you say, what are we doing this for? Why are we here? And if you can recenter that around the patients, I think it makes a lot of the other crap that you deal with throughout the day maybe make it more worthy to move forward and push yourself a little bit further to come up with solutions and put your mind in the right space. I think it takes me out of the center of a lot of the universe and makes it not about me. And I think that's for me, I think that's powerful because it allows me to take that ego out and really drive motivation to those around me and refocus what we're doing and why we're doing. Because we all get caught up in drama and politics and the world and families and all of those things. And again, what's the purpose of what we're doing around the patients? And I look at patients we've treated, and it can bring you to tears when you think about how moving it is. Patients, especially the spinal cord, it's a very big passion project for us internally. Passion meaning that it drives us to be able to impact these patient lives and figure out how to make their lives better when you've had a fairly young individual whose life has just been completely wrecked by an accident or an injury. And their world's completely going to be different than what they thought it was going to be. If you can motivate yourself with what we're doing, why we're doing, to make that person's life better, it's pretty powerful in my mind.
Yeah, 100%. Couldn't agree more.
Thank you.
And when you said at the start of that you're a patient yourself, what do you mean by that? Just for the listeners.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very open about I have an autoimmune disease. I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease in 2013 timeframe, and something I struggled with. And then, you go to the doctor, what's wrong. They tell you, gee, you're stressed out, and then you have more symptoms that come about. And I think having gone through that patient journey, I had a lot of support and outreach, not only from my immediate community, but also in my work community of connecting me with specialists and paths and journey of patient advocacy programs to really make me understand, what I'm living with and how do I manage through that and manage the stress that just comes with that. And that again centers me to I'm not only outside, as a corporate person trying to help, drive funding and support to solve these problems. I'm also a direct result of it.
Yeah, I think that's really important context for why you are really so patient focused on top of like your usual reasons. I want to move it on as well to the other piece that you're just super passionate about, which is women in biotech and leadership.
Yeah.
Just first of all, generally, like what progress have you seen and over the last 10, 15 years and what still needs to change in the industry?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of progress, to be quite honest. I mean, throughout my career, I've been very fortunate to have fantastic leaders around me that saw something in me and gave me a pathway, regardless of being female or male. I think that is very important to state that out there, that it's people of all walks of life and creed can be an advocate for you and can support you and can help lead. But I think there's been some fantastic organizations that have been born over the last 10 years, 10, 15 years. And one of them in particular that I really align with is Women in Bio. And the reason is it's a very intentional group of women that have come together to be supportive of other women. I think what's been really unfortunate over history as women try to ascend into these positions of executive authority, etc. I do think that there's a lot of other women, unfortunately, that can be very negative and not supportive. And I found the best relationships through my career with folks that are supportive. So every year there's a program that the WIB sponsors. That's a Boardroom Ready program. I had the benefit of taking that application before, and now I work every year with that organization to screen the applicants that have come through. Mostly what I'm screening are folks that are more finance and accounting focused background that really want to go through this boardroom ready program. And I pinch myself every year as I see these women come through. It's very inspirational, because if you think that the world's crashing and that the world's coming to an end, I tell you, you just need to do a session where you go through these resumes and you know the world's going to be okay. These women are incredible. Their background, the intellect, the knowledge that they bring, and it's just really inspiring to be part of that. So what I like about this program, again, the intention of bringing women that want to be supportive of other women, but the power and the strength and the intellect and the network that it builds and the intention of the network that it builds, you can network with somebody that's a CEO, a CFO, a CMO, a CBO, whatever those levels are, across applications, across the industry. It could be gene therapy, cell therapy, small molecule, whatever, large molecule, whatever that application is. And because of that connectivity, women can help connect and bring those disciplines together. And I've seen the power of it. I just really appreciate the opportunity to be a part of it, because I think it's a pretty remarkable accomplishment to have been privileged enough to be in that group of women. They also have many applications where they go from not only at the top that I just mentioned for the Boardroom Ready program, but all the way from the start of careers for women to get involved and go through these local chapters and mentoring and really being able to talk to people across disciplines. So occasionally I'm asked to attend a mentoring session, and most of them are scientists. And so they're asking me questions about finance, like, gee, what does this mean? Or how do I talk to the finance person? Or, and I try to take the scariness out of that, right? Because to be honest, the person sitting across the table with this big science brain is way bigger than my brain could ever be. And I try to let them know that, so that the finance people don't seem scary to them anymore. And that what they're doing is very, very necessary, and that they have an equal footing, I guess, in the conversation.
Yeah, I love that. I love how it's all snowballing now as well, because Women in Bio isn't the only organization that are helping just women across the industry. You've got the sisterhoods, and which I know you're a part of as well on the CFO front, it's really nice. Like, we've had massive advocates for just women across the industry on the podcast, and it's so nice to talk about and see how it is progressing.
Yeah, and I think I'll say one thing about the sisterhood, which is a fantastic organization. And one thing I think I love about that is that you're welcome in, with the expectation that you're here to be supportive of other women and be part of a culture. But not all women want to support other women, and that's totally okay too. There's not a lot of judgment on that, but this may just not be the group for you. And I really appreciate the transparency and the honesty around that as well.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And look, we're to the final question as well now, Jill, which is a question I ask every guest who comes on. So if you could have dinner with any scientist or innovator, past or present, who would it be and why?
Great question. If I had to just choose one, I would pick Isaac Newton. And the reason why is that, as a great philosopher that came up with articulating observations and that we live with and see every day, the laws of gravity, the idea that body emotion stays in motion. These are things that we've accepted and we've really understood over the course of time. So that's an external observation and a core to scientific insights, but that also translates over to the body. So if you think about how the marvelous human body works, and the way that the electrical system and the cell system and everything interacts in our body, it's very similar to what we see on the external. And so to be able to take those observations from a mathematical and a physics perspective, I think we've done great work over the 400 plus 500 years since he had the grace to walk the earth, and really use those principles and those applications that are still with us and still taught today into what we're doing to continue to learn. There's still so much we don't know, and bring that into, again, solving problems and serving patients. I would love to just sit down with them and have a drink with them and ask them, if he could see where we are today, what his impression would be, what has transcended over the time in which he lived. and to see the modern world today and what's been created. Would he have guessed that? Could he imagine that? What would he think of a cell phone? What would he do with this contraption that we're walking around with in our pocket every day? So I think it would just be fun to not only just have a conversation and see how his brain thinks and works, because he's certainly looking at the world at a different level. And then I think see how his work has really unlocked a pretty powerful insight and articulation into how we think about science today.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer. No, thank you so much for coming on, Jill. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the conversation with you today, and thank you for the opportunity.
And look, everyone, please like and subscribe to the Biohub, and thanks so much again, Jill.
Thank you. Appreciate it.